And here we are, very much again, looking at 3D in the USA Part 3, the concluding part, which is New Mexico to Wyoming, recorded data as good 27th of August 19. Data, of course, from Google Earth. The USA, as I've previously said in Part 2, said again, is 3.8 million square miles, so lots of land to have a look at in the 327 million people who live there. So overview, if you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, of course this is the USA with tons of push pins, little areas here, which are obviously very big areas. The questions I'm raising for myself and anybody else who wants to sit alongside me is what 3D is in the USA, and also where is it? How much of it? Are there any patterns? And there are some patterns actually emerging. Bear in mind I've now concluded and done all 50 states. So in this example we're going to be doing New Mexico starting in a moment, all the way through to Wyoming at the end. Bear in mind I am in England at the moment, I'm not in the USA, although I've been to the USA of course. 20 states. So let's have a look starting at New Mexico. So the objective here, if you're new to this and not seen parts 1 and 2, is to start looking at Google Earth, Google Earth Studio, Google Earth Web, and really get an idea here. Should I use the idea of a preview to say with New Mexico for further in-depth study, where can we find some of these 3D areas? Some of them at this scale are hidden. In other words, they're very small and hard to spot. If you look at a really interesting example, and it is New York, and I say that not because it's New York and all this stuff, it's just purely that if you look down on the bottom, we've got New York City, of course, with Long Island, tons, but I reckon to a lot of people, if you say New York, they will think of New York, not New York State. So if you think from Buffalo all the way up here, there are some key areas to study. I think it's a really interesting study because you've got New York City area and Long Island, of course. Then you've got all these other areas that I'm not saying they're forgotten, but as we see, if we move on to something like North Carolina, which is, of course, an East Coast area, as well as very snuck in to the forests here where I'm hovering around. We've got Asheville, we've got quite a lot of areas to look at. One question I have is, why have we got some 3D and many parts are 2D? If we look here at Ohio, we've got northern areas, we've got something in here where I'm circling, tons of push pins to look at down here. That will do for that one. As I keep saying, scale is something I can't place on slide to slide because all American states of course are different sizes. This one is Oklahoma, where you can see that I don't know if they call it a panhandle, but certainly in Florida terms they do. Nothing. I'm so interested, fascinated to look at some areas and why they've been covered in 3D where others have not. So let's have a look at Oregon, which is a really good example because you've got it's the I-5, runs from Portland south or north depending which way you go. 3D area there. Then you start looking at some of these super key areas there. Maybe they're outstanding natural beauty. I don't know. I'm sure all of it is. A little bit up the north, but there is a lot of Oregon that is not covered in 3D. Pennsylvania here. Some real key areas. Look at that even from a super zoom out, the way the topography works in these like serpentine curves. Philadelphia on the right. Then we're going on to Rhode Island. Again, a lot of things are coming out from Providence there. Nothing, according to this, on the coast. Interesting. Yet you have, look, there's a tiny island there. Sure it's a big island, don't know the name of it without zooming in. Then we go on to South Carolina. Similarly, probably following the bigger cities. Coming down, of course, to Charleston. Some coastals. That's okay, it's me trying to crane. South Dakota is probably one of the most interesting ones from my point of view to look at this super rectangle of a state, and then you've only got Sioux City, Sioux Falls, and I think there's Rapid City under there. Anything else not covered. as I say, this is why I'm looking to pick up some patterns. Tennessee, Memphis, Jackson, Nashville, Chattanooga. Some smaller areas here. Sometimes when you only get one pin and you zoom right in, they become bigger pins, of course. Texas, Houston there, Dallas, Fort Worth, 1, 2, 3, El Paso by the looks of it. I've added this little border here just to say where, well, the white line isn't it, of course, the border. San Antonio there. You've got to zoom in, and I will be doing further videos in this section on this Utah. Salt Lake City looks like a bit of a north-south going on here, something up top. Very difficult sometimes to pick out at this scale some of this 3D, where you've got the sort of sandy, mountainous sort of areas. Is that right? Desert maybe. Vermont is up here. One bit. That's it for Vermont by the looks of it. Virginia. Quite a lot of scattering with various areas there to look at. Interesting, we've got some there, but again nothing there. Or on this easter coast. And then Washington State, top left of course. Lots there. Then, which gets really interesting, is when you start looking at some of these zoomed in areas. That's why I call it and keep calling it, look, 1, 2, tiny little push pins at this level, but I'm giving you a, or myself as well, a one-stop look. West Virginia, area, lots in the middle not covered, over on the right. Bearing in mind we're in August 19 for this. Wisconsin, similarly, 1, 2, 3 areas, some single ones, much smaller around this. Milwaukee, of course, the south of Madison. And then we go on to Wyoming, which is the last one. Some amazing imagery up at Yellowstone, top left up here, because I've had a little sneak look around earlier on. Top right, oh goodness me, I do know that's the Devil's something or other up there. Devil's Tower, isn't it, up there? That's why that single pin is there. Don't know about this one. Bottom right. And then I think you'll find that is New Mexico in this section, all the way through to the last one, which is Wyoming, which was once again trying to have a good old look at this 3.8 million square miles, home to 327 million population. That was the concluding part of 3D in the USA, Part 3, New Mexico to Wyoming. There will be lots more in this series. Until then, goodbye.